you much. And most college kids, I went to college. 99% of the guys I went to college with didn't know what the hell they were doing. I was totally focused and had no life, didn't date, total loser. But I tell my kids all the time, rare happens. Unique happens. Once in a lifetime happens. It is your responsibility to be ready. I tell my daughter all the time, I want to get my backpack and go to Amsterdam. Do that in college. Okay? Grow up in college. Because the minute you get your degree, nobody wants to hear you in a backpack to head to Ireland. Be ready to play. Because I'm ready to hire 20-year-olds. You're cheap. Rare happens. I always take my running shoes on the road, even if I go in the winter to Seattle. Why? I may get 3 straight days of sun in Seattle. Rare happens. Be prepared for it. I tell my daughter, you could be 21. Amazon.com offers you a job. They give you stock options. It is the only time in your life a great company offers you stock options. You're never cheaper than when you get out of college. You're never more attractive to employers. They can mold you. They can teach you. They can pay you nothing. Be ready for rare. Be ready for unique. Be ready for once in a lifetime. Because you don't get many of those in your life. Be ready for it. Put your backpack down. If you didn't go to Amsterdam in college during your summer break, that's your problem. This is why I like Miami. The bubble is never going to happen again. The bubble has obviously, been very good for young players. Okay, old guys, they don't want a new adventure. Young guys play in the NBA, go home and play video games. That's what the bubble is. It's an AAU tournament. And it's never going to happen again. Okay. LeBron is not looking in year 17th for a new adventure in the playoffs. Dude wants to see his wife in the morning, his kids in the afternoon, get a day off, do a yoga, game tomorrow. He's over new experiences in the playoffs. He wants to win and sweep series and go on to the next series. We saw all these veteran players, all of them. Even LeBron admitted early, this is tough. It's not as tough for young people. But credit to the Miami Heat, because rare happened, and because they do a great job finding talent and developing it quickly, Tyler Hero rewards them. Bubble's not going to happen again. But it's not a shock that Pat Riley's team has taken advantage of it. Yeah. Go to Amsterdam on somebody else's dime. My kids aren't doing it. Outside of college, I'm not paying for it. I'll pay for it when you're in college. Grow up then. But once you're done with college and you're competing against 21-year-olds, let them be the slackers. Let them go hitchhiking across Europe. You got to be ready, because this bubble's never happening again. And not a shock, Pat Riley's team is ready for it. The Miami Heat are ready for it. Eric Spoelstra is ready for it. That scouting department, excellent, is ready for it. Because rare happens about twice in your life. Okay, take the backpack off. Be ready to play. Miami was unique, gets thrown right in their face. And, oh, God, if I'd have told you, yeah, there's this weird NBA thing that happens. It's a once in a lifetime. It happens right during the playoffs. And you're like, oh, who ended up figuring it out? Be like, if I told you, yeah, Pat Riley. You're like, yeah, of course. 40 years of figuring it out. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So as we know, your guy, Russell Wilson, has never received an MVP vote.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Looks like this could be the year that it finally changes.
Oh, week 2, we've already got voters.
Week 2. According to Fox Bet, Wilson has passed Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson as the favorite to win the MVP. He is favored at plus 310, with the former winners Mahomes and Lamar tied for second at plus 500. Aaron Rodgers plus 900, and Kyler Murray is odds at plus 1,300.
We talked about this. When it comes to the Heisman and it comes to MVPs, it really helps to get momentum in the first month of a season, because then the story builds and everybody plays catch up. I could be wrong on this, but the last time somebody won a Heisman, it felt like they just stole it at the end, was Carson Palmer. Because they started real choppy that year. They lost to Kansas State. USC did. For some reason, it feels like he stole it at the end, but generally, somebody in September, like this kid, this Oklahoma quarterback, somebody lights it up, everybody starts talking, we all turn in, and nobody can catch up to the guy that gets the early narrative.
It generally matters how you start, not necessarily how you finish. Because
Right.
if you have a great end of the season, but you've been relatively quiet throughout the season, then voters can kind of hold that against you because, like you said, they've already kind of built up their dedication and attention to someone that started off fast. And you're excited to have football back, and he's on fire.
Westbrook won the MVP. We were talking about it in like January. We're like, oh my God, he's getting triple doubles. Like by January, it was the story in the NBA. And by that point, it didn't matter. He'd won it.
It's not that, look, it obviously is something, or we wouldn't constantly talk about how Russell Wilson never received an MVP vote. Like, winning a league MVP is a prestigious thing to win. Now, obviously, everything we're saying is also true. There is a narrative to it because there's human beings that vote on this, and human beings have biases and loyalties, and that's just the way that it goes. There's no computer system that's going to decide who the MVP is. Otherwise, just the best statistical player every single year would win.
Right.
But Russell Wilson does deserve, obviously he deserves to have had MVP votes at this point, but it does feel like the momentum is going that way. Although it obviously matters as well if you stay healthy for most of the season. Because remember, Carson Wentz was cruising to an MVP and then got injured. And now that's a thing everyone refers to. Like, well, we were having MVP conversations. Derek Carr, they were having MVP conversations. Like, you have to stay healthy as well. So Dak Prescott led the Cowboys to a comeback on Sunday against the Falcons. And Rob Ryan compared him to one of the NBA's best, or the NBA's best. After getting the Cowboys the win, he said he looked like Michael Jordan did late in games. He was intense, ready for the moment. The guy has been putting up great numbers and all of that for the last few years. People just don't give him the respect he deserves. Maybe after this game, they will start doing it.
Oh, boy. Isn't $30 million a year respect? People think, I would argue there's more Dak defenders than Dak critics at this point.
I think, yeah, probably. I mean, he is on a franchise tag, so I would argue that it's not. If Dak didn't get the contract he feels he deserves, then it's not fully respect, which obviously he didn't because he didn't sign the long-term contract. So you could argue that if you're fully on Dak's side, which, look, I'm a Dak supporter. I think he deserves a long-term contract. They did offer him a long-term contract. It just wasn't the numbers that he necessarily wanted.
Yeah.
And I also didn't think it was a disrespectful number, but I'm not Dak Prescott or Dak Prescott's people. He's betting on himself this year entirely, which I think is risky in the NFL to do. But I also think that I'm not getting suckered into how this game ended. I won't do it. No, I'm not going to do it. The Falcons lost that game. Now, that's not to say that the Cowboys didn't keep it together. They could have fallen apart. So morally or chemistry-wise, like, that was a good showing by the Cowboys because they could have fallen apart and said, we're down, we're fumbling everything, and just let it get out of control, and they didn't. Yeah. That says something about them as a team. But you also started terribly, and the Falcons are really good at losing big leads.
Right.
So I'm not going to get crazy. I don't believe that happens if you're playing the Packers. I don't believe that happens if you're playing the Seahawks.
Right.
You get down 20 points to a team like that, you're not just crawling back into it.
They should be 0-2. They're incredibly fortunate to be 1-1.
Right. So I don't think there's an and listen, I like Dak Prescott, but I'm not taking anything dramatic away from that game other than chemistry. They play the Seahawks this week.
In Seattle.
It's going to be very good. And then they have the Browns and the Giants and then the Cardinals. So the NBA's found a lot of success with the Orlando bubble this year, but Kevin Garnett does not think it would have worked back when he was playing.
And to be honest, we could never play in the bubble. You know how much I've been screaming, throwing your shot. Get this out of here. You'd have heard me in here, bro. Man, they'd have had a bunch of sense. We couldn't have all these cameras. You know, man, it's a different league. We were men, yo. It'd have been barbaric. We could have never been in a situation like this. It'd have been chaotic.
I actually tend to agree with them. I think it would not have worked. I mean, think about it. Even just like imagine Jordan's Bulls. Imagine Dennis Rodman in the bubble. Imagine like there are some technological advances that we have now that old school basketball did not have. I mean, virtual fans. You have a lot of these guys are setting up these ridiculous video game setups in their rooms. You have FaceTime. Like, it's a different world. I don't know if this would have worked in the 90s and in the early 2000s. I actually have to agree with them. And basketball was different. It was much more physical, as we know. Yeah. There are beefs that are still lasting today. Yeah. You see someone in the bubble, it might not have been so comfortable. It's just a friendlier league, which I don't have a problem with. I like it.
I'm blown away I know players make a lot of money and nobody wants to hear this, but to ask a veteran player to be in a bubble for 3 months.
Yes, it's a lot.
I said this yesterday, Joey.